Thank you for sharing part of your day with us. Welcome to SkillUp in 15 Minutes. I'm Ross Van Wyk, an account executive.
And I'm Caleb Malik, an account executive turned marketing director. On SkillUp in 15 Minutes, we talk with individual contributors, those folks who are carrying the bag every day. So we call this SkillUp in 15 Minutes because in the first 15 minutes, you're going to learn a skill that you can put into action tomorrow, the sort of tactic that you can use immediately, that's clearly easy to use. And then after that, we're going to go into some career advice, and we're going to be talking with our guest here on how to build a career that will be something you can be proud of over the years.
Yeah, and today we're super excited because we have Philip Bokan, who is an account executive at Blue Volt. Philip, when it comes to building a sales career, as you know, you have to think about the quick wins in the short term and ways that you can grow your career in the long term. And that's why we're excited today for you to share some actionable advice around how to ignore the noise and how to attach yourself to good people, and as well as your wisdom for how to set yourself up for a successful career in sales. So Philip, thanks again for joining us. How are we doing, man?
I'm pretty good, man. Thank you for having me on today. I appreciate it. It's always, I love talking to people about just practical advice because there's so much advice in our world, and you got to find things that work and keep doing it,
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So let's break into this. Let's start with ignoring the noise. What sort of things and like insights do you have related to that you'd like to share with us?
So I've been in the Valley for years. I mean, I'm not like OG WebEx, but I was there before Cisco bought us. I was number 107 at Marketo and 106 at Outreach, early 80s at Rain King that was bought by Zoom Info. So I've seen about all of it at this point, and what I've, with all the advice that is on all the sales advice we receive in our world, you look at LinkedIn, and every day you get on LinkedIn, everybody's got some new repurposed process that was done in 1970 or whatever, and it is just hypothesis selling for the most part. There's some real voices out there like your Ryan Lawlers, your Corey Brays, your Matt Hines of Hines Marketing. I mean, it can go on. But I just see so many people talking about things that just don't work. And you have these consultants that get together, they go on tour, they start talking, they start slapping each other on the back. They have one idea, they all convey, and they're all backing each other up on LinkedIn. And the reality of it is none of them can close the door. So it's like you're giving advice to people who are sponges, who want to learn how to sell, want to learn tactics, how to get people to pick up the phone. How do you get people to book meetings? And it's like, it's the blind leading the blind a lot of the time. So find the right people that you trust to point you in the right direction of those you should follow. I think is really good advice, because you can get some bad advice along the way.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think there's definitely a lot of people, sharing what they think to be best practices and things of that nature. I guess if you were talking to an entry-level account executive or somebody kind of just getting their start, what would you tell them as far as like, here's how to find those thought leaders that actually have, tangible, good sales advice?
Yeah, I think your peers is the place you want to start, actually, if you're getting started. And I learned this advice early on. When I started at WebEx, I had just closed my mainframe business. Our developers were a little bit greedy, so we had to pull up stakes, and I owed money back. So I went to WebEx to really start getting it back. And I was struggling at the beginning, going from being a founder to being on the line. And my manager at the time, John Anderson, some of the best advice I've ever received, I really appreciate him for it, is I said to him, I'm like, there's a couple of us that are really struggling right now. We should all get together and really figure this out. And he's like, no. You should forget about them, and you should go find the big people on the board, and you should listen to them and steal from them everything you can learn from them. Not steal from them, but steal advice, steal process, steal plays. So I did exactly that, and I've done that along the way. I mean, like, I have some phenomenal people I can rely on, that I can pick up the phone on and talk to, and that I just respect. I mean, there's Keola Wong. His nickname's the Big Gong. I met him at WebEx. He's so smart, such a great enterprise seller. Worked with guys like Craig Hanahan at Rain King, who moved on to Outreach, and they're just absolute grinders who kill it. There's like phenomenal women sellers like Kristen Anderson, who has been at multiple exits and the like. And even so much when I got going, my SDRs, I made sure that I was really kind to them and helped them, because I learned from them and they helped me make my living. So I still am very close friends with some of my SDRs, like Sam Nelson up at Outreach, who's SDR leader. We talk all the time. Matt Amundsen, who's the CMO of Constant. We talk also, and it's, I'm still carrying a bag, and I'm really happy with that. But I'm so happy to see people that I've worked with over the years really excel. It feels like, I feel like I'm part of the win at times,
Yeah. So it kind of sounds like what you're saying is be kind of slow to trust where you get your information. And the best place to get it is with people that you spend time in the trenches with, like people you're actually working with alongside. They know the company, they know the industry. So you have some certainty in their understanding of what they're telling you as far as like sales advice goes, versus kind of blindly following the people that are on LinkedIn that are, raining advice every single day, just a post, basically, it seems like sometimes, right?
Yeah. Well, your best place to look is the CRM. I mean, you can look at the leaderboard in the CRM and see who's been successful and replicate what they do. Basically,
Yeah,
their
the
process,
numbers don't lie.
Yeah, their process internally at the company you're at, they've mastered that process. So like figure out how, not everybody's going to be good at everything, but like little things along the way to help your efficiencies and to be a better salesperson. That's the only way to really get better, is just take good advice.
Yeah. And then how does a person just getting started out in sales, how would they approach maybe that top performer? Because, that might be kind of intimidating, right? Like how should they reach out and ask for them to like pick their brain or to shadow them? Or do you have any, actionable things there that maybe you've tried, or maybe your SDRs in the past have tried with you?
Walk up to if we're in an environment where people are back in their office, you just walk up to their desk and you are persistent. Yeah. I think every legit, like really good salesperson I've ever worked with, they want to help. And as well as I do, it's like every salesperson in the beginning, they're like, oh, I'm balling. And then like the ones that are really not nice people, they're showing the door, so it's like, it's a mix there, and you got to finding the right people to trust, because they're going to keep you out of trouble. They're going to show you the right way, show you how to get through that sales cycle as quick as possible, pull things in quicker. Hey, trust what works and what actually works, not what people tell you works, where there's nothing behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it seems like with all of the technology that we have today to be able to listen in on people's calls, I know you were at Chorus, and we know there's another big one out there, that there's almost no excuse. Back when you talk about it, you're like, I'm going over their desk, I'm asking. It's like these days, like if you're not stealing from the people who are doing successful, like you're being pretty lazy, because you probably have access to those things.
Yeah, those recordings, you're right. It's like you can easily segment those recordings to find the moments that matter, parts of the sales cycle that matter. But the human interaction is also very important, because to talk to the rep that went through that, let's say you see a win, to understand the emotions that went on, what they were thinking, the if-thens that were involved, how they had to pivot, maybe something came on that aspect that was like out of the blue that they weren't prepared for. How did they deal with that? It's like, act like you've been in the end zone a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I can honestly, this really resonates with me. Just, I wasn't that long ago when I got started in tech sales, and I was fortunate to be able to align to some pretty great reps, and, just shadowing them, following them. And I definitely think it accelerated my own learning curve. And, I think there are some of those top performers are going to be what you might call a lone wolf. But I think to your point, Phil, like most of those top performers, they want to help. They want to pass on some of that tribal knowledge to, some of the younger account executives or SDRs that are coming up. And so, I think step one is approach them, ask them for guidance. But, maybe do some homework before you show up, like having looked into, hey, I listened to this call recording of yours. I thought this was really great. I was wondering why you did this versus why you did that. I think if you show an interest in that way, I think they're going to be way more receptive to helping you as well.
Yeah. And like on the topic of the SDRs, what I always did with my SDRs to really help them was, let's say they book a call and we have to decide if we're going to move forward to the next step. What I always had them do is, after that discovery call, I'd come over and be like, tell me about it, fight me for it. And I want them, and I know what went on in the call, but I want them to be able to explain what went on the call and fight for that to be an opportunity and understand why it's going to close and what's important and what we should be talking about. And it only helps them to get better in their line of questioning when they have people on the phone, so if you can get them spun up to be able to get a little bit more of that discovery, it only is going to help shorten the sales cycle at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And plus it helps them grow too, which is important.
Yeah. Shortening that feedback loop, kind of giving them, feedback on here's how the meeting went. And I love that, and make them kind of fight for it a little bit. It gets them more invested in the meetings they're putting on an AE's calendar. And it teaches them more business and sales acumen in the process. I think, if you, I think more account executives should take an interest in helping their SDRs in that way. I think that's really powerful.
Well, like if you sharpen their knives with them, they're going to bring you better opportunities. So like anybody that's rude to their SDR, sometimes they deserve it. I'm kidding. But like, I am kidding. Absolutely. They're people, right? Their job is not the hardest though. And it's like, that's one thing that kind of gets in my craw a little bit. It's tough. It is, but you're like politely asking somebody for time a couple days in the future to talk more about what you're talking about. I think there's a mental aspect that salespeople go through, and it's like in your own head, you get put in your own, you get limited by your own constraints a lot of the time in sales. And it's what's in your own head telling you not to do something, or they won't want to talk to me, or, whatever it is. No, it's suit of armor, go, go, go.
Yeah.
How do you help build that suit of armor? Is it just a matter of finding some success and seeing this works, or like, what are some ways that a young SDR or early AE or that sort of person can do that?
You're going to have to hear a lot of no's, in my opinion. I mean, that's just the way it is. Right. And you just want to, I just drive for the yeses. You know what? There was a sales leader once. This was some of the best advice I ever received. Jeff Schmidt, he's at Drone Deploy now. He was my sales leader at Core Metrics. Never deny someone the joy of their own self-discovery. And this is client facing. You have clients that come in, maybe they want to buy, maybe they want to build it. They have other ideas. When you talk to them, if you're just human, you relate, you understand that you can help, they understand you can help them with their needs. Maybe they want to go it alone. If you handle that situation right, they're going to come back to you usually, So I've always kind of operated under that more than anything, because then if I hear no's, I'm not like, there's no emotion coming out of negativity from me. It's like, hey, this is the way it is. Cool. Let's find another opportunity to talk, that sort of thing. Never close doors.
Yeah. And I think specifically to, helping like coaching, like either, an AE or an SDR on your team. I mean, you've been in sales for, like you said, since the 90s, I think, right? So like, what are some of the things that you've done with newer sales reps on your team to help, foster that connection with them? Like, do you have one-on-ones with other SDRs and AEs, or, what is that sort of? What does that look like for you?
Well, typically my calendar is open for anybody on my team. So like with the new reps that come on, I encourage them to put time on my calendar whenever there's a 15-minute gap on both sides if they need something. Always available by teams. I'll put time on their calendars also to work on things if I see it. For junior reps that work with me, if they are, say, working to get promoted and they have to go through an SDR phase first, I have them work at every part of the sales cycle with me and be involved, sit in the meetings. And then when they're starting to get ready to launch, I want to make sure that they're asking the questions in discovery and I'm supporting them, but I'm not taking over. I think that can be, a hindrance. And then you want to get them to the point where they can push to do that demo themselves. So if you can pull those SDRs along to get them to promoted to a promoted position also, I mean, you're going to have a friend for the rest of your life because you were there with them, you struggle with them, you're going to see the ups and downs. And it's, it's not just thanks for the meetings, guys. It's like, we did this together, Yeah.
That's awesome. Ross noted, you've had this great career. And so this may be a good time, that we kind of shift into that kind of career wisdom, although I think you've already dropped some on us. When you started out, from what I can tell, you were in athletics and in sports, and you were doing sales there. And talk a little bit about, there's a lot of people who want to get into tech sales, right? Because it's a great career. You can make good money. I think the answer is that you did it through founding your own business and kind of getting into the space that way. But how did you go about making that transition and making it a successful one?
Yeah, so I backdoored my way in. I was in finance before I went to work for the A's, and I was killing it before the turn of the century. And then the tech bubble was just about hit. It was before it hit. So I would go into the Valley and I'd be like, I want to work for you. And they'd be like, you're in finance, facilities. Like it was terrible. I'm like, guys, come on, I'm a good salesperson. So, I looked at it this way. After I was at WebEx, I had a couple stops, and I was really at a pivotal point in my life where I was really thinking about if I wanted to stay in tech sales. And I was interviewing at Informatica, Marketo, and also Salesforce at the time. And I was living in Sacramento, about 90 miles away, and I knew I had to make a decision. If I really wanted to be in tech, I had to move to the Valley. Even though I was 90 miles away at the time, remote wasn't as legit being in Sacramento, obviously, regardless of my background. So I looked like it. If you want to be in pictures, you got to move to Hollywood, literally. And so I, with both feet, accepted the job with Marketo. They offered me on a Wednesday and they told me I had to be on there on Friday, and I was running sales and marketing for my firm at the time. I'm like, okay, great. So yeah, but you got to make that commitment. If you want to do it, you got to be committed, because this is not easy what we do. You know, it's not always fun. People see us at Morton's clinking glasses after big closes. They don't see us like when no one will call us back and we're struggling, you know? So I just always try to be positive around others. Nobody needs to see your negativity, you know? We all go through it, but it's about being positive in front of your peers and everything. And that helps the new people more than anything, because if you can keep a game face on when you're not having the best day, or, you know, when you're having trouble with your pipeline, it's going to come through, you know, it's going to come through. It will, because of determination and what you have cooking. Positive attitude carries across the team all the time. Yeah.
Totally. I love that.
So you just packed up your car on a Wednesday and drove out to a new job on that next Friday at Marketo?
Yeah, I had to quit. It was really painful because I really appreciated my management like a lot, but it was, I mean, Marketo was Marketo. It made sense now. Obviously, it was the right move. Yeah, I went there and I literally moved in with family. I had a couple little kids and we figured it out, and they moved about 6 months later to Half Moon Bay with me. So things worked out pretty well.
Wow. Yeah. So tying that back to, you know, career advice, it's like, you got to make some sacrifices sometimes if you really want to make some things happen. And holy cow.
Yeah, there is definite sacrifice that has to go on. Not for everybody. Some people, it just clicks so they fail up or whatever it is. Right. But this career field is not for everybody. That is a legit statement. It's not. You have to want it. You got to have there's no such thing as luck in our business. There is no such thing as luck. You put yourself in a position to be lucky always by your determination, your hard work, and aligning yourself with the right situation. The best advice I could give overall is learn from others' mistakes. When you see them, take note, learn from them. You don't want to be making them. When you make one mistake, don't do it again also, you know, because people are forgiving, but you got to absolutely be professional and keep doing it, or you'll lose your chair. It's that simple.
What would be a mistake that you can share with us that younger sales professionals can try to avoid?
There's so many. You know, that's experience.
I love that answer.
There's so many experience. It's so funny when you're interviewing in the beginning, everybody's like, you just don't have experience. You're like, but give me the experience, give me the opportunity for the experience. What they're saying to you, really saying to you, is they need somebody that can smell it a mile away when it's coming. That's experience. So you see it coming, you know it's coming. Okay, this is what we have to do in our if then now. And that's experience. I think it's just going through it and having the pain of failing in certain situations and knowing that, seeing it coming and not experiencing it again. Yeah.
I love that. So you got to Marketo and you're in software sales, and you've, you know, already in this discussion, we got Marketo, we got Outreach, you've been at like all these, like, these are some badass companies. So how do you pick winners? It's clear you pick winners. Like, how do you go
Not always, but yes.
Okay, you're being modest. You don't always pick winners, but you do.
I fire most of them, let's put it that way. So
yeah. So how do you do that? You know, I think about the young sales professional who's like, you know, I've got this offer and this offer and this offer, and how do I pick which one and which one's the right one, and what's the characteristics and what are the things you're looking for?
Oh God. You know, I don't have an answer for that. It's the people that I chose, basically, that the people you meet when you're interviewing and the people that you see, that you know through the network. And backdoor references are really how everything gets done, whether we like it or not. Well, you get hired to do it and you find out what really is going on behind the scenes. And you got to be real honest with yourself when you see how they are, what the process is. What is the business? How do they sell? You know, how many people are making their number too? The number is nothing if nobody's making their number, you know?
Yeah. I'd like to, let's dive into the backdoor references. I think I understand what you're saying there, but I think that's really important because a lot of times, you know, the employers, they're of course doing their reference checks, and the potential new employee, you know, the sales rep, I mean, they're kind of just they just kind of have to take everything at face value that they're told in the interview. And so I think the backdoor reference is a really powerful tool. Can you dive into that a little bit more?
Yeah, well, I mean, so with LinkedIn, I've treated my LinkedIn a little differently from the beginning. I looked at it as an actual network. So I have to like know you, shake your hand, talk to you to connect with you. So I can pick up the phone to the majority of the people on my LinkedIn, actually. So with that helps. So I get calls all the time. I get calls all the time about people. Hey, what do you know about this person? What do they really like? Are they hardworking? And you got to be truthful when you talk about this, because my reputation's on the line if I send somebody somewhere, I'll tell you, it was interesting. When I got the job with Blue Volt this time, and in the pandemic, it was really different, I would say, because there's so many people out on the street, right? The one thing I did differently this time was I actually treated it like a sales opportunity. I had a spreadsheet. I had every company that I inquired to, that you throw it in the bin on LinkedIn, it actually is going to get to the right person nowadays. So like actually applying online, applying at the website. And then I set up a sequence of following up with people where I was calling the sales leader. I was emailing the sales leader. I'm looking for another subordinate to call an email. I'm calling the president. I'm emailing the president. And I'm literally treating like sales cycle. And one thing I think that is very important in where you're going to go and meaning this is being able to look the hiring person in the eye, your new manager in the eye, and telling them that you want to work for them. You want to sell for them. And I think a lot of younger people don't quite understand that aspect, because it's like, why would I want to work for you? Right? I mean, we all kind of do that. Why would I want to work for you? Will you sell me? No, the reality is you're going to be producing for them. It's their brand. If the brand was not there, you're not having anything to sell. So being passionate about who you work for is really what makes you get up in the morning when it comes down to it.
Do you have any worry that if I think just a devil's advocate here, like if I were to say like, hey, I'm going to go to this company because of this sales leader and I feel really strongly about working for them, like, should I be worried that what if that sales leader leaves in 6 months or, and then do you have any worry about that as far as like tying to people?
Go get another job.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's that simple. It's like, and also like what I have not really been able to do in my career is hitch my wagon to somebody. I would say that's a deficiency in my career. I've had a good path and made a great living, happy with my life. But, some of my friends along the way have really befriended sales leaders, crushed it. And then when that sales leader moves on, they go on with that sales leader. And I think that is really an ideal career path for a salesperson in tech, is to find the right leadership and then be able to go to the next stage with that person. Because every time you move with that person, there's a little bit more that's going to come with it for you because they trust you,
Yeah. I've also seen that. And I've always been fascinated by people who can do that, and I think also that comes back to like having to, take big chances, like oftentimes it may require moving across the country if you really want that job that's with that sales leader in that office. But yeah, to your point, I've seen some salespeople that I know that have also, it seems like they've tied their wagon to a really good sales leader.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing about these names that I work for, like when I went there, they weren't like, nobody'd heard of them. Right. So I would leave my job and you going to Rain King, man, and they're like, I made a great living at Rain King. We had an exit. It was phenomenal, and it's just, you can work for a company that nobody knows about. Like where I'm at right now, we've been in business for 19 years. We work in the trades. We've got great clientele. It's phenomenal. And we're legit, but not many people have heard of us, but I don't really care, Yeah.
That's awesome. So it seems like you don't shy away from like, I'm going to leave a job if it's not working. If that sales leader leaves and that's the reason I came here, I may leave and find another job. So how do you go about making that decision? Because I mean, it's never black and white, right? So what kind of goes through your head?
No, I am not afraid of taking risks, like legitimate risks where I can, see some outcomes. And I've looked at it, as you can look at my LinkedIn, I've had a lot of stops, obviously, but I look at it as everybody has a tolerance threshold for pain and for bullshit. Okay. And when you reach that threshold, it's time to go, in my opinion. And everybody's got a different threshold though. And everybody has different motivations, right? And and some people are biased against action. They just are, because they get comfortable or whatever it is. But I don't know, life's too short. and you're the only one that can make change. One person.
Yeah. Yeah. And ultimately I feel like you have to do what's in the best interest of yourself. I mean, not to be selfish or anything, but it is what it is. I mean, ultimately, if you're not getting fulfillment out of the work you're doing, or you're not making the money you want, or, you're not growing the way that you want, ultimately you have to do what's best for yourself.
Yeah. When I struggled when I left Marketo, because I understood what it was. I loved where I went, but I'll tell you, my manager at the time, Mark Baralaza, he told me when I was really struggling, I was like, I just have to do this. He's like, Phil, you got to do what's best for your family. Mm-hmm. And I've really taken that to heart, because it's true. I've got 5 little ones. I need to think about them more than our EBITDA, I mean, really, right? So.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, that's great advice. The family's more important than the business. And I think we learned that in the last year, especially, that, people always say, and I even for going into my career, the business will never care about you and you got to look out for yourself, I'm thinking, I know what I'm talking about. And, but I think we saw that in the last year, I think we saw COVID hit, and, I'm guessing some people lost their jobs because the business went out, or because they had to. And there was probably some people who lost their jobs because, it was a good opportunity to cut some people here and cut some people there. And we've been wanting to get rid of them, but we couldn't, now we have a reason, and I think there was a lot of that too, which is really, really quite sad.
What I'm interested for is all the people that really, it'll happen soon, but all the people that just disliked their jobs, but hung in through COVID. And we're going to see them, I think, pretty soon trying to do other things. I know there's plenty of people hiring right now. There's plenty of work out there, to say the least. Just got to be aggressive to get in front of the light. A lot of competition for those jobs too, though.
Yeah. Well, it seems like you've got a way to approach it as it's a sale, right? Like you're selling yourself to the company, and that's how you've approached it. And that's how you've found job opportunities. I know, Ross, that you've talked to, when we've talked about your job, you've done the same thing. I know when I was, doing the sales thing, we would get videos, part of ours was send a vidyard video, we want to hear you talk about inbound marketing. And it would be like, we watch it for 2 seconds. If you were shadowy, if you didn't look, you didn't take the time to get a good light on your face for this video, come on, what are you going to do when you're actually selling to people? Apply like you're selling.
Yeah, absolutely. Practice like you play.
Yeah.
I'm all full of euphemisms. I'm sorry, guys.
and full of great career wisdom and tactics for us, and all that good stuff. So, Philip, thank you so much for your time today. Where can people connect with you? Where can they spend time following you? LinkedIn, I'm guessing, is at the top of the list.
Philip Bokan on LinkedIn, 1L. Yeah, totally. 1L. Yeah, follow me on LinkedIn, message me, whatever it may be. Yeah, guys, thanks for having me on the show. Appreciate it. Nice to see you again, Ross. Absolutely.
Yeah,
thanks for the time, guys.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
You bet. Yep.
Thank you for doing it.